Shalom and welcome to what's happening on Clown Planet this week. 48 mosques, 48 have opened in Texas in the last 24 months. 48 mosques. Now you might say, yeah, that's not a lot. It doesn't really mean anything. You know, immigrants and all these things and yada yada bing bang. 15,000 Christian houses of worship in America will close and shutter themselves by the end of 2025, with an avalanche, or as they say in the article, a tsunami of more shutdowns in the next 10 years ahead. Not that this planet's got 10 years, but you see the rise of Islam coming into that gap where we're exiting. And when we're gone, Islam will be the world's biggest religion, leading as an army for AC into that final religion where they'll worship the beast. 48 in Texas alone in the last 24 months, while 15,000 houses of worship, Protestant, unaffiliated, Catholic, will all shutter in America alone by the end of 2025. That's a month and a half. President Trump approves bill allowing 500% tariffs on countries that trade with Russia. Let's get a big stick and let's keep hitting the bear and see when it eventually rips an arm off you. 500% tariffs on any countries trading with Russia. So any BRICS country, because BRICS is an agreement, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and all our new buddies, Iran included, any of us continue trading with Russia, which we're doing because we're in BRICS, suddenly 500% tariffs. South Africa's already getting her butt kicked here with all sorts of tariffs and chaos with America. Add another 500% on top of that, because we're trading with Russia. We stop trading with Russia, suddenly this relationship that they have fostered and grown with Russia starts getting bad. You understand the problem here? That is really going to poke the bear here, and this is going to be really interesting to see if it's followed through and what is the outcome of those tariffs. We know some of the other tariff plans didn't work out too well for groceries in America, and they've been rolled back, but 500% tariffs on countries trading with Russia. Then Pope Leo embraces transgenderism and invites prominent trans activists to the Vatican luncheon. According to left-wing Catholic blogger and activist Christopher Hale, Leo will meet with Italian transgender activist Alicia Nobile and several other campaigners for a luncheon this past Sunday. So, as much as he was trying not to say it out loud, we all knew it was coming, and he comes from Francis, who pushed him for the role the whole time until his end. Here he is now publicly saying, yes, okay, I am doing this, and I am still pushing this agenda, and we are welcoming this into the church. Liberal, Protestant, and Jewish denominations declare transgenderism holy. Now, this is what really grinds my gears. Do they even know how to read the Bible? Do they even know how to read the original language? Do they know what the word holy means? Because they're just applying it left, right, and center without any understanding. Several liberal, Protestant, and Jewish denominations declared transgenderism holy this week in a direct rebuke of a vote by the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops to bar transgender procedures in Catholic healthcare facilities. During a time when our country is placing their lives under increasingly serious threat, there is a disgraceful misconception that all people of faith do not affirm the full spectrum of gender. A great many of us read the Wednesday statement, which included signatures of leaders from the Episcopal Church, the Presbyterian Church, the United Church of Christ, the Unitarian Universalist Association, the Union for Reformed Judaism, an association for Quakers, and others. Let it be known instead that our beloveds are created in the image of God, holy and whole. The statement said in its transgender identifying individuals, maybe the image of their God, but not the image of my God. Our scriptures vary, and there's your problem. My scriptures don't. They're infallible and they never change. Theirs, however, vary, but they have a common conviction. As we make justice our aim, we should be making salvation our aim. We must give voice to those who are silenced. Our shared values, held across many faiths, one world religion, teach us that we are all children of God and that we must cultivate a discipline of hope in difficult times. Maybe you must just read your Bible carefully. Maybe you must grow a sense of truth in you and know and am willing to say that there's only one way. There's only one path. There's only one truth. And that is Jesus Christ. There isn't multiple roads to God. That's not how it works. And that's where this error of theirs creeps in. But again, that's why I say church, because that's not the real church. Gun rush sweeps Jewish New York. Jewish New Yorkers are buying firearms and seeking training in anticipation of Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani taking office, fearing a rise in anti-Semitic incidents and reduced police protection. There's an easier solution here to all the Jews in New York. If you're watching by any chance, start making plans for Aliyah. Pack up and go home. And I know America was your home, maybe even for generations, but now more than ever, it is the time to move back to Israel. It is the way everything is working. And if you believe in Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, you will be moving home shortly. Trump administration holds situation room meeting. Those are usually important meetings about critical, chaotic events over House efforts to force the release of the Epstein files. I mean, really, come on. A source familiar confirmed the meeting in the Situation Room included Boebert, who has wanted the Justice Department to release the trove of Epstein files and has signed onto the effort in the House to force the vote compelling the release. That effort is now in motion after a newly sworn-in Democratic member of Congress provided the 218th and final signature needed on the discharge petition to force the vote, and in turn trigger a number of procedural steps before the House can vote on a bill compelling the files release. After the meeting, Boebert wrote on X, "I want to thank the White House officials for meeting with me. Together we remain committed to ensuring transparency for the American people." If you've got nothing to hide, just release it. You don't need a situation room meeting. You don't need a big secrecy thing. You don't need multiple bills. Grab the microphone and speak the truth. It's really that simple. Otherwise, you're trying to hide something. US makes clear it will oppose a G20 Johannesburg Leaders Declaration. At the end of each G20 meeting, they have a Leaders Declaration. They can't have that if all the leaders don't agree. The South African G20 summit next weekend is looking increasingly unlikely to issue the usual G20 Leaders Declaration after the US made it clear it would oppose anything beyond a chair statement. If so, the 20th summit would be the first G20 summit since it began in 2008 not to issue a consensus leaders declaration. The prospects of such a declaration were fading anyway, but dimmed considerably after the US said what its position was on the weekend. The United States is effectively boycotting this year's G20, along with Argentine President Javier Milei's announcement boycotting in support of Donald Trump. This is based on the American president in his whole issue with South Africa on multiple issues, which you know, I'm not going to get into that. Russia's representative will be a junior official, the Deputy Chief of Staff of the Presidential Executive Office, Maxim Oreshkin. That's because Putin can't come here without being possibly arrested by her buddy. What the heck? China's president, Xi Jinping, will be absent as well, but his second-in-command, Li Qiang, will be in attendance. Mexico's new president, Claudia Sheinbaum, will also stay away. So because Trump's staying away and boycotting the whole thing and saying there'll be no leaders' declaration, the rest who are all bowing to Trump on the world stage are backing out carefully and as gently as they can because they don't want to offend Trump in his spat and ongoing issue with South Africa. So this whole G20 is already a joke. It's not going to be what it's supposed to be. And as much as Ramaphosa is trying to put on a brave face and say, boycotts never achieve anything, his whole life and his whole nation's life is all about boycotting things to achieve things. And he knows that his goose is cooked on this one, and this meeting's not going to go like he wanted it to go, and he's not going to get the recognition or the acclaim that he needed, which he shouldn't get. New right-wing Trump party launches in Belgium. I never thought I'd read an article like this. The new far-right party, named after President Trump, has burst onto Belgium's political scene, reviving the networks of two defunct nationalist movements and pledging a unitary alternative to the country's separatist right, officially titled Trump. So this Trump worship is so big that other countries are starting political parties named after Trump, who is a leader of America and not Belgium. That doesn't even begin to make sense. How do you even run under such a name? I mean, it's like saying, okay, we're having the Trump party in South Africa, but Trump's not in South Africa. Nothing he wants works for South Africa. He's not a South African. That's how deep this veneration for Trump seems to be seeping in with different factions across the world. And I find that really interesting. The Trump party in Belgium. Then a mysterious flight of Palestinians arrived in South Africa. South Africa is investigating the arrival of the mysteriously chartered flight carrying 150 Palestinians from Gaza to OR Tambo International Airport, where passengers were detained for approximately 12 hours due to lack of proper documentation, including exit stamps from Israel, allegedly, and no clear plans for their stay in South Africa. None of the Palestinians on the flight had actually applied for asylum. They just arrived. The flight routed through Nairobi, Kenya, and arrived without the exit stamps, return tickets, or accommodation details, prompting South African border authorities to deny passengers disembarking the plane. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa confirmed that South Africa's intelligence services launched a probe into the flight's origin and purpose, describing the arrival as mysterious. These are people from Gaza who somehow, mysteriously, were put on a plane that passed by Nairobi and came here, he said. The Palestinian embassy in South Africa accused unregistered and misleading organization to be linked to Israel and orchestrating the flight. An Israeli military official, speaking anonymously, said the organization called Al-Masht arranged the transport of the Palestinians from Gaza to South Africa. It wasn't Israel, it's a Muslim organization. Passengers were eventually allowed to disembark late Thursday night after immigration interviews, with some receiving transit visas and others permitted entry. 23 of the Palestinians traveled onwards to other countries, which haven't been named, and 130 remained in South Africa. The Palestinian Foreign Affairs Ministry thanked South Africa for its principled stance in supporting the Palestinian people and its sovereign decision to allow entry for the group from Gaza without prior coordination. I think, and it's just my opinion, that was just wave one. Our country wanted to scream anti-Israel, start court cases against Israel, stand against Israel, constantly be against Israel, dress like Palestinians, have offices for Hamas and Hezbollah and Islamic Jihad in our country, and support terrorism through our banks. We want to do all these pro-Palestine things, then expect the Palestinians to arrive and bolster the Muslim population and Palestinian pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist support in this country already to even larger levels, and start changing things in this government, which is the end game. So I'll be looking for play number 2, 3, 4. Walmart pulls clothing from its website after shoppers claim it depicts a Nazi salute. Again, we talked about this just the other day. We're living in a time where Nazi and Hitler and all these things are not seen as crazy anymore, but something good, something that's acceptable and understandable. The shirt and hoodie, which comes in grey and black, were emblazoned with the words, "Paper beats rock." This is in reference to the game Rock, Paper, Scissors. The accompanying graphic featured a flat palm to represent paper that some claim looks like a fascist salute hovering over an image of a raised fist, which means rock. Both items of clothing have since been removed from the Walmart website. So now you might think, oh, they're overreacting. It's rock, paper, scissors. Who doesn't like rock, paper, scissors? I play this with my daughter all the time. It's brilliant. Rock, paper, scissors. Now I'm going to show you the picture. This is a Nazi salute. Absolutely first thing that comes to my mind, but I'm probably biased. And the power uprising, rioting symbol of a fist. I don't think rock, paper, scissors when I see this picture at all. How is that rock, paper, scissors? So yes, I'm with them on this is most definitely Nazi salute over a fist. Rise up. End times. Never a dull moment at all. But God. Always. But God.